All right. After reviewing the lessons that I've done so far, I decided to go ahead and maybe add one or two more. Although I said I wasn't going to do that, I couldn't resist. I thought of a couple more things of some advanced kind of controls that you might want to know about. And these are things that, although in the material that we've covered so far, you might be able to do on your own. They're definitely harder kinds of techniques to master, and so that's why I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate those for you. And the ones we're going to be covering first, we're going to do a reverse foot control for zombie, and I'll explain what that is. And then we'll probably do a lesson on maybe automating some hip placement for zombie as well, using some expressions. So let's talk about the first thing, the reverse foot control. What is a reverse foot control? Well, that is the reverse foot control is the addition of a couple of new controls down in our foot that interact with our IK chain, and they give us the ability to place our feet and our legs in different ways, kinds of controls that we don't automatically have that we usually use forward kinematics to obtain. And I'm going to show you a way that uses a method that's similar to inverse kinematics, although it isn't exactly inverse kinematics, but it's like it. And this is going to take some time to develop, and I'll just caution you right now that you'll want to take this slow and really pay close attention to everything that I'm doing. And it's a good idea that you probably watch this first all the way through before you try it, and then maybe go ahead and watch the video again and follow along with zombie with your rig and do what I'm doing. You'll need to make sure that you do every step that I do and do it in the order that I do it, because if you don't, you might find yourself in a situation where things just don't work. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this. First thing I'm going to do is go into my display options, and I'm going to set it to double vertical because I need a couple of views to do this. I'm going to set this one over here to schematic and just kind of zoom on out. And what we need to do here is actually disable some controls that we have, because we're not going to use them anymore. And the ones we're going to disable are the goal that controls our IK, represented by this item shape here. We're also going to disable our foot roll control, that special bone that we created way back in Modeler that we were using to rotate the foot. And ultimately, we're going to replace both of those controls with one new control that's going to cover, or it's going to be responsible for the translation and the rotation of the foot. And then we'll also be adding in more controls as well underneath that. So let's go ahead and do that. And first thing I'm going to do here is go to my scene editor, and I'm going to actually hide my reference null, which was that little circular plane we had down there. I'm going to go ahead and hide zombie 2 because I don't really want to watch him. I don't want to look at him right now. I'm going to close that for the moment. And let's zoom in here and pick on the right foot. And then I'll go over here to right IK leg, and I'm going to change some colors around because I like to use a color coding system in my bones, and I'm going to change some of these to black, which for me is going to represent that I'm no longer going to be using those or not manipulating those in any way. So I'm going to change all those to black. I'm going to select right IK leg. Actually, I'm going to rename him, and I'm going to name him to right ankle. And actually, while we're doing this, let's go ahead and go into layout plugins, master plugins, and if you have any of your proxy objects enabled right now, go ahead and just click on them to disable those proxy objects, because we're going to set up some new proxies too. Okay, so I have renamed this to right ankle. I'm going to go to my scene editor one more time, and I'm going to find that down here. I'm going to lock that down. And actually, at the same time, I'm going to hide it. And I think I'll do the same for the right foot roll. Let's find out where that's located at. And it should be, here's the right hip, there's the right foot roll. I'm going to lock that, and then I'm going to hide it. And can actually hide this one as well, since we're there. And I'll just leave that like that for the moment. And actually I'm going to select right ankle one more time. I'm going to hit P for item properties. I'm going to select the item shape. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to remove it, because I'm going to paste that into something else later. Okay, let's go ahead now and create a new null. Items object null. And I'm going to call this one right heel. And it gets created at the origin. Let me back up here and grab this null and move it down closer to my leg. And go ahead and clone that. I'm going to create 4 clones altogether for it, so we'll have a total of 5 nulls. And then I'm going to start renaming them. So we're going to name this one right ball. Click on that. We'll rename that to right pivot. This one will be right toes. And this last one we're going to call right tip toes. And now I'm going to hit O for options. I'm going to deselect parent in place, because I'm going to parent these guys temporarily. And the one I'm parenting them to is the right toes. I'm going to have to back up here so you won't be able to see the text, but it's this last one down here. I'm going to control click all of these to parent them to the right toes. I'm going to go back into options, turn on parent in place, and one by one I'm going to unparent them. Okay, so effectively we have just moved their positions from the origin to the base of the toe bones. I'm going to go in here and grab right ankle, and I think I'll move him down a little bit. And I'm just going to try to frame things up a little bit better. Like that. Now I'm going to hit Auto key. And starting with the right heel, I'm going to go into my right viewport over here. And I'm going to select T to translate it. And I'm going to map back until I see that the y-axis of the translation tool lines up right to this join point. I hit Y, and you'll notice down here that we have some rotation in here, and that was because we parented these nulls to the toe bone, and when it did that, of course, it inherited the rotation of the toe bone. So I'm going to zero those out. Okay, next up I'm going to select ball, and I'm going to leave that one where it is, but I'm going to zero out the rotation. Then I'm going to select pivot, and I'll zero the rotation on that as well. And tiptoes, zero the rotation, and toes, I'm only going to zero out the heading and the pitch, and I'm going to leave the bank as it is right now, and I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. So let's first select right tip toes, hit T for translate, T for, hold on just a second here, try that again, T for translate, and I'm going to move this null right to the end point of the toe bone. Next I'm going to select the toes. I'm going to move that so it's about 1/3 the distance between this null and that null. And then I'll select the pivot, and I'm going to put that so it's approximately at 2/3 the distance between this null and that null. Okay, let me go back into my perspective view. So I've got a lot of nulls here, but they do very specific things. Let's do some parenting. We're going to parent this in a very specific way, and do pay particular attention to how this is parented, because this definitely will directly affect whether or not this is successful or not. Okay, I'm going to go into options and make sure that parent in place is selected, and it is. Okay, first I'm going to parent the pivot to the heel by control clicking. Then I'm going to select the tiptoes. I'm going to parent that to the pivot. I'm going to select toes. I'm going to parent that to the tiptoes. Then select ball and also parent that to the tiptoes. Then I'm going to select right ankle, and I'm going to parent that actually to the ball. Okay, so now if I turn on my mesh again, go into Scene Editor and turn on Zombie. And actually I'm going to deselect Auto Key just to move things around, but I'm going to snap them back into place after that's done. I can go ahead and select the right heel, and as you see, as I move them around, I have now transferred the control from what originally was the right IK leg to the right heel. Okay, and also if you select rotation, you'll see now that it also controls the rotation of the foot. So okay, so I'm going to do a couple more things here. Now I am going to select toes and hit M for motion options. I'm going to select a goal object for this, and the object, the goal object that I'm going to select is right toes. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and select Match Goal Orientation. And it doesn't look like anything changed, but I can tell you that it did. Okay, so what did we do here? Let me maximize this. Oops, not that one. This is the one I wanted. We created a new hierarchical structure here, and at the top of it we have the right heel, and as you already saw, the right heel is what controls the translation of the entire leg, and below that we have another series of nulls which will lead to different kinds of controls. As you can see right down here at the tiptoes, we've split the control structure off into the toes and also into the right ball. And keeping in mind, at the same time, we selected the toes. Sorry, I had to pause there for a second. Keeping in mind here that we selected the toes object as a goal object for the toes bone, and we chose to match the goal orientation, which means effectively that any rotation that is imparted onto the toes null here will automatically be translated or mimicked by the right toes bone. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that we have a lot of options here. We can select the tiptoes null, and if we rotate that on the pitch, you'll see that the entire foot rolls up from the tiptoes, and along with that, part of, or actually all of this IK structure up above it. Okay, and then next, if we select the ball null, we can rotate that, and actually what we get is, let me rotate that around a little more, we actually get more of a bending here. We get sort of a step effect where what's happening here is that because this control section, this control structure is split off into two parts, and we've left the toes out from this portion of the hierarchy, we get the toes, the toe bone, locked into place, but we can actually rotate the ball, which will rotate the heel and all this stuff. I'm sorry, not we'll rotate the ball, and it will rotate the right ankle null. Remember, which is the terminal point there of our IK chain, which means once the ball is rotated, this gets moved as well, and that imparts motion up through the chain. So we've just increased our controls tremendously, and I think you'll find that there can be a lot of uses for these. But of course, there's always the downside. There's always the caveat, and that is the more controls that we put into our rig, the more chances we're taking of our rig becoming less stable or fighting with it somewhat. And I can tell you that I still am getting pretty good control over this. I'm getting decent feedback, but it's certainly not as smooth as it was before. And there's a lot of things, a lot of calculation to do here. And so just keep that in mind. And when you set this up, definitely play with it and explore it, and see if it's right for what you for your animating workflow, and whether or not you think it'll be effective. Let me do one other thing too. I'm going to go out here and show you one other control. I hit Auto key for the moment because we have a couple of other nulls in here. We have the pivot and the toes. Well, the toes is actually one we're not going to use at all. It's just there as a placeholder to control the toe bone. So I'm going to go into the scene editor. I'm going to find that, and I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to hide it so I don't see it. But we do have the pivot, and the pivot does give us something. It gives us a very specific function, and I'll show you what that is. We can select the right ball null, and we can rotate that on the pitch. And what the pivot allows us to do is to actually take that placement and rotate it around that point. So you can see we get kind of a stamping effect there, and that is also something that might be handy that you might want to use. So just try that one out as well. Usually I'm going to delete these keys because I don't want them at the moment. Turn Auto key off. Usually that's not one that you might use a lot, so I think it's a good idea to just go ahead into the scene editor and lock it and hide it. And if you find yourself in need of it, you can always go into the schematic view and just select it. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and actually there's one other step we could have done here, which is to clone our hierarchy. So I'm going to see how this works out. Actually, I've already got everything kind of hooked up, but I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to select the right heel, and I've actually got my clone hierarchy mapped into my right context menu, but you'll have to look around and find out exactly where it is in the scene, and I can never remember where it is in layout, which is why I mapped it over here. So I'm going to clone that hierarchy, and actually did an okay job there. And I'm going to move this over here to the left foot, and I'm going to start some renaming here really quickly, just so I don't get confused over what's what. Left ball. And this one I'm going to go ahead and subtract out of the scene by hitting the minus key, and I'll go ahead and clear the descendants on that. Then I'll select the left heel, and I'll hit T for translate, and down here in the position I'm just going to hit minus, so that'll mirror that to the other side of the x-axis, and then I'll just go ahead and create, select Auto key, and actually I'll just go ahead and create a key for it there. Let's see, everything's still in place. Okay, and let's go ahead and I'll just go ahead and do this again quickly just for reinforcement, exactly how I did this. Select the left IK leg, rename it, and this one's going to be called left ankle. Parent that, select the Auto key, and make sure parent place is on, and parent that to the left ball, And then, let's see, I've already even gotten confused. And then we'll take the left toes, hit M for motion options, select the goal as the left toe null, which is located, oops, did I forget to rename that? Yeah, I did. Okay, so select the left toes. Goal object is going to be the left toes, and I'll select match goal orientation. And then I'm just going to quickly verify that things are working the way they're supposed to. Let's try that one again. Yep. Okay, looks absolutely fine to me. I'm going to go ahead and save out this scene, and I'm going to save this as a new scene. And I'm just going to call this Zombie Super Rig. So that way I have two different kinds of rigs that I can access, one with these advanced controls and one with the simpler ones that we had before. Select this right heel, hit P for object properties, and go ahead and paste in that item shape that we had before. And I think the size on that is fine. And I think I'll do the same thing for the left heel as well. Paste that in. I'm going to select this left ankle. I'm going to change that to black. And the left foot roll, change that to black. Bring up my scene editor, lock that, hide it. Find this one, lock that, and hide it. So now I have closer to the same kind of thing on the left side that I had on the right side. You might need to increase the size of those boxes for the moment, and it depends on how much you really want to see them. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly set up some new proxy objects, and I'll probably just do it on one side and let you take care of the other side. Because I'm pretty sure you are comfortable now of how to handle that. But I will go ahead and select these two nulls, and I'm going to reparent those and find my reference, and this is my reference up here. So I'm going to select that one, control-click, sure parent in place is on. I usually switch on auto key just for safety. And select that one, and control-click. And let me translate that all. Oops. Let me grab that and move it around just to verify that everything moves with it, and it does, just as we'd expect. And now I can deselect off that and not see it anymore. Okay, let's take the left foot proxy. And this time I'm going to parent it to the, this is the right foot proxy. I'm going to parent that to the right heel. I'm going to rename that. I'm going to call this right foot roll. I'm going to clone it once. Okay, I'm going to call this right foot tip toes. And I'm going to grab that in translation, and I'm going to just translate it forward a little bit in Z. Create a key for it. And, oops, there we go. Okay, this one was already a proxy object, or we had it set up as a proxy object before, but we need to change that, what it is a proxy object of. So we have the right foot roll, and what we need to do is set this so that the target item is going to be the right ball. So all the way down here, we'll find right ball. Click to activate that. Let's go ahead and add one more new proxy pick. And the proxy object on this is going to be the right foot tiptoes, which will be all the way down here. And the target item will be the right tiptoes. And so now, when I select those, I can quickly grab those nulls. So I can go in here and actually, in my scene editor, lock those. Actually, I'm sorry, no, we don't need to really lock them, but hide them. So now we just have these three controls looking at us, so we don't have too much garbage in our scene. So let's verify that these actually move the way they're supposed to, and they do move with them. No problem at all. Okay, we covered a lot of material here, and as you can see, it was pretty in-depth. But this is a great kind of control structure for specific tasks. For a walk cycle, it can definitely save you some time, and maybe some other things. And you might just experiment around and see what kind of things you can find out that you can do with this kind of control structure. Okay, next up we'll look at maybe doing some automation on the hip placement. I'm going to go in and finish up setting up the left foot, and so we'll just see you in the next lesson.